Hey everyone, welcome to Catfish Weekly. We got with us Chuck Davidson, Lyle Stokes, Paul Ragsdale, myself, Chris Wallace, aka Fudd. Tonight we're going to be talking about pay lakes, noodling, and illegal guide services. So if you got questions for us on it, jump in the chat there, just ask us about them. We're going to be just talking about some different views on the thing, and just sort of chatting about it and our feelings on it, some things like that. Probably a subject that we visit many times on each one of those, and I think we'll start it off on the illegal guide services, and we can go ahead and let Lyle start us off with that.
All right, folks. We have a lot of questions that come in. I get tons of emails and PMs and people wanting you to recommend guide services and stuff. And the first thing I do is contact people in the area where they're wanting to go and try to find them a guide that has legal merchant marine license and commercial insurance. And I will not recommend a guide to someone that's wanting to be guided on a trip that does not have that. To start with, it's illegal. Second off, the insurance will not cover, personal insurance will not cover someone commercially guiding people, so they're breaking the law, and if something happens, their insurance most likely will not cover it. Um, it's hard for me to not be straightforward and honest about this. A lot of these guides out here are people that say they're guides are friends of mine, but the honest truth is that if you have not taken the time and spent the money to go to get your merchant marines license from the Coast Guard, then you are breaking the law, and you should not be allowed to take those people's money. It makes you no better than a commercial fisherman going out here and catching fish and sending them home with people uh, when you're not set up to do that. And I know that I'm going to catch some flash over this, but that's okay. It's my opinion, and that's how I feel about it. I had some guys call me the other day that was from Pennsylvania. Was on their way to Lake of the Ozarks, and I sent them a message to call Chris Jones. To my knowledge, he is the only person down there guiding that has the qualifications it takes to do that. Now, as soon as soon as that happens, Chris was in an accident, so I don't know if they got a hold of him or not. I get people calling for St. Louis all the time, and if you're friends with somebody, you don't require a guide license. If you just want to go out a day or two and catch some fish and have a good time, that's not being a professional guide. But when you're charging people to take them out and guide, that's a different situation. And to my knowledge, I could be mistaken, Ryan Casey and Jason Jackson are the only two legal guides in the St. Louis area. I understand there's a guy around Kansas City that has all his stuff, and the rest of them are not doing it. Like I say, I know there's going to be some conflict on this, and I'm sorry about that. But if you're breaking the law, it doesn't matter if you're catching too many fish or you're transporting Asian carp or you're guiding without a license. You're still breaking the law, and you're just as guilty.
Now,
So
Lyle, some of these guys, from what I've heard and stuff, is what they'll do is they'll basically skirt around calling themselves a guide. They might say that they'll take you on a fishing trip or something, just where it's not, they're trying to word it in a way they might be able to try to get away with it. Is there things that you could tell people to look out for? Just that some red flags that you might see that you wouldn't know to look for or something if you were looking to book a guide.
if you're going on a guided trip, and I know all these guys, I know a lot of the really prominent guys. If you call Brad Durick, he's got the correct credentials. If you call Jason Jackson or Ryan Casey or Jason Bridges, ask these guys if they have the Merchant Marine six-pack license for captaining a guide boat, and they will tell you they all have them. If they do not have that license, and they are charging you to take you out in any form, they are breaking the law. It's just it's that cut and dry.
So basically, do your research if you're wanting a guide trip. You know,
That's
take a little
exactly
bit of
right.
time, call up the actual company, ask them if they have that
And if they
guide
have
guide
commercial
trip.
insurance, you know,
Genuine account,
if
whip it out.
yeah, if they got it, they'll be glad to show it to you. They're proud of the accomplishment of getting them. It costs a little bit of money to get those licensed. It takes time to do it. I've talked to some of the guys that have done them, and it's an extensive deal. You got to go through as far as mapping and all the stuff that you have to go through the Coast Guard to get those licensed. So everybody's not going to pass those tests, and that may be some of the reason why some of them don't want to get them, and they're very expensive, but you're making a fairly good living off of those if you are staying busy. With that being said, you should be able to make enough money to recoup that license fee in no time at all. But if they will not show you their license, they're hiding something.
Now,
And
would you say, like, for example, the guys who aren't or who don't have their captain's license, the fees that they charge compared to a captain who does have the captain's license, a guy who does have the captain's license, is it pretty close? I mean, do you think somebody, if it's, is it $50 cheaper? I mean, what do you think that?
pretty close actually. If you check with the guys that are up to speed on all their stuff and the guys that are not and know who is and who isn't, there's not that big a difference between the price of whatever each one of them is charging. I mean, it costs so much money to operate that boat. It costs so much time to get your bait and to make sure that you're doing a good job, and you have to make a certain amount of money to operate it. So they're very close on what you get as far as charges. They're not that far off. And there might be a few dollars difference on some of them, but there's going to be some guys that are the elite that are going to get top price, and some that are not elite that don't guide every day that will be a little bit cheaper. But in reality, it's still not that far of a separation.
So basically, you might be looking around. You guys might find a place that is $50, $100 cheaper, but in reality, that you're probably not getting the same amount of experience. You're not getting the level of protection, maybe by insurance, the level of knowledge from the captain himself. So really, that $50 you think you're saving might end up costing you a lot more. Um, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right the first time and get somebody who's a licensed captain, has their U.S. Coast Guard's captain's license, and they're going to.
Exactly right. And if I'm going to spend my $400 to $600 a day for a guided trip, I'm going to have a Jason Jackson or a Ryan Casey or a Jason Bridges or a Brad Dourif. Those are four of the top guides in the nation, from Channel Cat to Blues, Flatheads, anything in between. And if you tell them what you want, they'll take you out and do a professional job. They're going to get the top dollar. They're going to put you on fish. You're not going to have to look for bait because they're going to have it. It'll be fresh. It'll be good. It'll be quality. You get Chris Jones when you go down to the lake. Now, I know Chris was in an accident the other day and he has some health issues, but I have talked to people that he has went out with, and they tell me the same thing. I've not been in the boat with Chris, but everybody that I've talked to says he is one professional man, does an outstanding job, gets them on fish, and takes care of them, and he's got the credentials, and that's what they want.
All right, you got anything else to add on that topic there, Lyle?
Not at this time. The only reason it was brought up is because I get countless messages and emails, PMs, phone calls about guides and why some of them have license and why some of them don't. I just thought it was time to bring it out.
Okay. Chuck, you got anything to add?
Yeah. So you'll see these guys sometimes they'll, get on and say, I'll take you out for $150 tomorrow for 6 hours, stuff like that, and they're all over Facebook doing it here and there. Um, sometimes you will actually see one of these guides with credentials. If you see them make a post and you know that they're a certified guide, sometimes these guys have cancellations. And they'll get on there and say, I got a cancellation for tomorrow. If anybody wants to go out, I'll take you out for 6 hours for $225. Them guys' family, they might have, decided not to go someplace with their family. They're sitting around. They already have the bait, so they're gonna cut somebody a good deal. So that don't mean just because you're getting a good deal they don't have their license. Sometimes they're ready to cut some deals if people cancel their trips, and jump on them if you find one like that, because they'll cut you a deal sometimes.
Well, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm not trying to interrupt you, Chuck, but um, on Lake of the Ozarks, there's a couple of guys that guide out of Bucksaw Marine. They have pictures on their website, and they have a slaughterhouse set up there where they bring all the catfish in they catch and they butcher them, just fish after fish after fish after fish. And these guys are guiding illegally without a license, and they think there's no end to that resource down there, and they're mistaken. They're killing big fish, little fish, and everything in between. These are the guys that the Coast Guard need to come in here and say, okay, boys, either get your license or we're going to take you down. And that's just the way it is. Those guys are raping that water system down there, and they think there's no end to them fish. But if they would come to our water and fish where we have and see what happens when overharvest is done, they would understand why the rules and regulations have been put into effect down there.
And that's correct, Lau. And there's also another guy that fishes up toward Pickwick. Y'all may have heard of him, Phil King. A lot of guys, he works a whole lot. A lot of his trips are reserved a year in advance. Sometimes he even has to take vacation for some of these guide trips. But with the price of his, as most guides, the the fish you keep, which he don't keep anything over 10, 15 pounds. Sometimes he will catch a 90-gallon live well full of eaters, 3 to 5 pounds, and you actually get to sit there and watch him skin these fish, and he set the world record on skinning a fish, and he'll clean every one of them in about an hour. But it's just watch out who you're hiring, and watch out for these good deals. And a lot of these guys that they may have their credentials, but they're bass fishermen. And they'll tell you, you call them up, ask them if they fish for catfish. They may say, yeah, but go out with a professional catfish guide if you're going to catfish, just like you wouldn't want a professional catfish guide taking you bass fishing. Some of these catfish guides up here on Gunnersville and stuff, the bass guys, they'll on their website they tell you that they'll take you catfishing also, and they're holding up some 10 and 15 pound catfish, but they charge the same amount as the professional catfish guide. So if you're going to do a catfish guide, go with the pros, go with the ones who know. That's all I got, Chris.
Okay. Paul, you got anything to get that on the illegal guiding?
No, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, I myself, I've never taken a guide catfish trip. I do want to. I honestly just love fishing and fishing with different people all the time, because I feel like everybody has something to teach you, whether it be a guide or just some guy that might have just started fishing. He might show you something that is something that you can add to your arsenal at some point. And but like myself, as far as if I work, when I go to get a guide or whatever, I'm very I guess I'm a very competitive internet. I do want to try to find the best price. Chuck had a great idea looking for guys who might have had a cancellation. But I do a lot of research too, because I want my money to go as far as possible. If I want to spend $400 that I have on going to catch a specific thing, be it big fish or be it a lot of fish, I'm going to try to find the best guide who's going to get me what I want. Be it, like I said, if I want to target a big fish, I'll look for a guide who is very productive at getting big fish in the boat. And, I'm going to want to make sure that he's somebody that if I have an accident, his insurance, is going to make sure that it takes care of me. He's not going to be, some guy who just posted some big pictures of big fish on his, Joe Smith's, catfishing trips, and save me $50. I'm gonna do my research, get out there, and if you know somebody doing the illegal guiding or whatever, I guess if depending on how close you are with them, you might need to talk to them a little bit about what they're doing. Um, if you're telling friends about him, just let them know that that person isn't a certified uh, guide. They don't have their U.S. Coast Guard guides certificate, so um, legally what they're doing isn't necessarily legal, and they need to be leery of that.
And it's not all about illegal stuff that guides do, right or wrong. There's a couple of guys on Facebook that post these pictures of numbers of fish hanging on a nail in front of a bragging board, and that's the most deterrent that you can get uh, for people trying to make catfishing an equal playing field to some of the other sport fish. And when they look like a bunch of hillbillies out there showing how many fish they can hang on a nail, these are professional guides with correct license doing this. If anybody should know better to make the sport better for everybody, these guys should know that. And they constantly are doing it.
You definitely don't see bass and crappie hung up by a nail on a tree.
No, and it's no different with the catfish. A sport fish is a sport fish. It just depends on which one you're after. But if you're a professional, act like one. Treat those fish with the respect they deserve. Even if you do that at your house, don't put it online for everybody to see so they can make fun of the whole catfishing community.
No, you're right. As cat fishermen, really a lot of times we joke and give bass guys a hard time and stuff, but in reality, we need to look at what they've done for bass and really sort of mimic that. They've presented themselves as upstanding people who want to protect the species of fish that they consider their sport fish and that they love, and they do a lot that that we see that they do, to protect that fish, and then a lot of it has to do with the image.
That's exactly right. Mr. Ray and Forrest Wood and guys like that started the BAS stuff years ago, they had a vision in what they wanted to see bass tournament fishing grow to, and they made it happen by being professional and keeping the bad element out of the sport, and they brought it a long way in a hurry. I mean, what other sport have you seen that attracts the quality of fishermen and the amount of money that those guys make in such a short period of time? We're only talking about 30, 40, 50 years, and they've made bass fishing an elite series in several different areas, and the crappie guys are not that far behind them.
No.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Before we get off of this, I just want to explain it in this way. If you built houses and you had to go get a home builder's license, and you had to go get workman's comp for all your guys and all this, and you're building houses, but Mr. Joe Cludd, he's starting to build houses on the other end of the street with a bunch of illegal immigrants, and he don't have a home builder's license, and he's taking all your business. When these guys are out here guiding without the proper credentials, they're taking money out of the guys' pockets that actually have worked and got the right credentials to do this. So just think of it that way when you go hire a guide.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we're pretty good on the illegal guide services. I know it's not in the show, but let's. I know that Paul had brought it up, and it's probably something we should talk about as well. A little bit of the bow fishing regulations that they were trying to get done over there in Illinois. I know you have some input on that, Paul. So why don't you go ahead and let us know about that a little bit more?
Well, the biggest problem that I have with it is that.
Well, what is it exactly? What are they trying to get done? And
they're trying to get it passed so they can bow hunt the catfish.
And this is
And
the state of Illinois only, right? Or
yeah, they want to start it off north as a pilot project, and Illinois Bowfishing Association is trying to get it pushed through. They originally come and said that it would be implemented January 15th of next year, I believe is what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lyle. But
Also far.
yeah, they're wanting to bow fish channel catfish, and the problem that I have, and I know Lyle's got with as well, is that they're wanting to, or you know, when you're bow fishing in a river, there's really no way to tell, or at least I can't tell the difference between a blue or a channel cat if they're big in size.
a
Until it's
flathead.
out of the water. And once you shoot that fish, it's shot. And what are they going to do? Even if they invoke the 34-inch rule, what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to shoot two fish over 34 and throw one away so he don't get caught with it. And I don't think it's going to fly, but we're keeping an eye on it right now to kind of make sure that if it gets in there for a rule changing, that we get in on it.
Yeah, that to me sounds like something that, like the United for Catfish project that we've got going, and I know that the people who have donated to that, they might be wondering what's going on with that again. It's just myself really working on it. I've been trying to find a designer, but you know, it will be up, and it will be something like what Paul's talking about in Illinois, as he called it, a pilot program. Things like that are exactly what the United for Catfish.com should be used for, to really let people know and stop that, nip that in the bud, so that doesn't go on to other states, you know, so that, you know, Illinois gets an earful from the entire catfish community that no, this shouldn't be allowed, this shouldn't go on. There's no, you know, here's the facts, you know, you can't do it because of this, you can't do it because of that. To me, it sounds like bow fishermen. From what I can't say that I've ever done it. I know anybody, you know, real personally who does it, but to me it sounds like, from what I've seen, the bow fishermen do it for sport. You know, they go out there and they shoot these carp and stuff, and they bring them back to the ramps and they throw them off on the bank. So now it sounds like they want to get catfish, so they, you know, either A, they're going to waste that catfish and throw it on the bank, or B, they want to be able to have some fish to eat.
But not all of them throw it on the bank, but
there's a high percentage of them that do.
Yeah, a lot of what I've seen from the bow fishermen, they don't have any use for that fish that they've shot. They'll bring 15, 20 fish back on their boat, right at that boat ramp. They're all dead, and they throw them right off into the rocks, or they'll just toss them in the water right at the boat ramp, and that's where you'll see a bunch of dead fish, and you'll get that nasty smell at the boat ramps. And I've seen that quite a bit. I know, at least around here. Matter of fact, this weekend when I was on the Ohio River, 5 bow fishing boats that went out onto the water, they all brought fish back. They all threw them fish right on the shore, and they were all dead. And I mean, we're talking, you know, and that was one of the bad things that I seen down there in Troy, Indiana this weekend was the hundreds of thousands of Asian carp. I have never seen so many Asian carp in my years of fishing the Ohio River. I've never seen that many of the silver carp. And that night when the 5 bow fishermen that went out, and when they came back, I sat there and talked to all of them. You know, they're bringing back not little Asian carp. They're bringing back, you know, these Asian carp are 15 to 25 to 35 pounds. You know, and like I said, with hundreds of thousands of them already moving in, they are a really an invasive species, and they're something that we're going to be dealing with for a long time, I think.
Well, if they get their foot in the door, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, but you know, going back to that, you know, for the bow fishing and stuff, that we definitely need, you know, we need to make sure that something like that, you know, doesn't get taken off. You know, we need to tell people in Illinois that, you know, the DNR, whoever's, you know, if there's any sort of open comment period, anything like that, you know, we post, if we find any information, we'll post it up on Catfish Weekly. You up until the United for Catfish is up and going a little better. We'll definitely keep you informed as far as what you might be able to do to help out with that in Illinois.
Well, as with anything, letters and emails, anything way to get in touch with the conservation or DNR, whatever they have in Illinois, I believe it is DNR. You have to, everybody that fishes that water, whether it be a Missouri, Illinois, Indiana resident, doesn't matter where you're from, if you don't believe in that and you have ever fished that area or ever planned to fish that area, you need to get in touch with them people and show them your displeasure for that. That's the only response at this time until we get the United for Catfish stuff going, that we have to let them people know how strongly we oppose what they're trying to do.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on the bow fishing subject while we're here on it, or we all pretty good there?
Pretty good.
Okay. Let's go to noodling. We'll again start with Lyle.
Well, this is, again, there's going to be some people get mad, and that as far as hand fishing, I really don't care if they get mad or not. I have read countless pages of research done by the Department of Conservation in the state of Missouri. I have visited with countless numbers of agents that work on the projects to determine how detrimental noodling or hand fishing is to the fish population, and it is devastating. They can say what they want. The opposition will come back and say, all them fish should go back to that nest. They might go back. They will not stay. They always leave. If you have a 25-year-old flathead that lays 250,000 eggs, 10% of them eggs is the average survival rate. That's 2,500 left that should survive without any trouble to grow to a healthy age. If those fish are brought off of that nest, they go back, they will never spawn those eggs, they all will die, and that's 2,500 fry that we lost on every fish that's taken off. Another big issue with that is the only time that really works and is good is during the spawn, when the males or the females are on the nest. Most of the time they'll find them in a tree or a log or something, in a bank hole, and they'll get both of them, the male and the female. Well, you done lost a set of breeders right there that'll never raise another litter of fry. Missouri tried it on a trial basis for 1 year. That was it. That was enough. They've seen all that they needed to see. There is no reason for this to go on. People say, well, it's a sport that's been inherited down for 1,000 years. Well, it's been illegal for as long as I can remember. There's no reason to go in there and rape these fish off of them things, off them nests. There's just no reason to do it. You're not only taking the breeders out of the system, you're killing off thousands and thousands of fry from now on that those could have produced, or their offspring could produce.
Now, to play devil's advocate real quick, this is I believe I've heard this response from them, or somebody might ask this. They would say, if a noodler does that, they pull that fish off its nest or whatever, then how does the tournament angler fishing during the spawn and catching that fish, taking him to a boat ramp and even releasing him, not do the same sort of thing?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a big tournament during the spawn, say and trying to catch blues?
I have, yes.
Nearly non-existent. If the blues are on a nest and there's a tournament, you're fishing for channel cat or flatheads. The channel cats are getting ready to go on spawn now, and the bite this last weekend, there was some guys that went some areas and they caught some fish. It was full of eggs. They got out. Them fish probably will spawn because they wasn't on the nest yet, but within the next week they will be, and you won't catch those fish. It's not like a bass where you can see it laying up there and you just keep throwing something up there where it's at and it'll strike at it just to get it away from its nest. You don't know where these catfish are because you can't see them down there. Now, if you have side imaging, you might find a percentage of them, but most of them are in holes or in revetments, and they're flat against something, and a lot of sonar, I don't care what kind it is, will not pick them up. So you're not going to catch very many fish off of a nest catfish in a tournament because they're just not going to bite. Even if you did, that does not make it any better than the other way. I'm just the way it is.
Okay. I just want to throw that out there because you know, I'm trying to.
I've heard that question a lot.
Yeah, they will not leave that nest for no reason. Period.
No, they won't. Not unless they're jerked off.
I'm sorry.
You jerk one off the nest. That's not, that's not what I meant. And no, it's not. If you take one off the nest, and he's not going to go back, but they're not going to leave that nest unless somebody pulls them off of it. That's just the way it is.
Catfish Weekly talking spawning and jerked off.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else on the noodling there, Chuck?
Nope, never did it, never tried it.
Yeah, last night we was off fishing down by a point down the river down here, and there was these boys there. They were talking about going and doing some noodling this weekend. At that time, they were running jugs down the river. They caught a few, small eater cats on the jugs. They brought them back, and they brought them up on the bank, was going to clean them. I didn't say anything to them about jug fishing or anything because these boys ain't off getting in trouble. They're out there fishing, and it's not the time to approach anybody about anything like that. But, if they would have been noodling instead of jug fishing, it might have been totally different, for me to approach them at that time and let them know my opinion. So hopefully, this weekend I can go down there and they're doing that and, ask them what they get out of it and all this stuff. But there's a whole lot of noodling going on down here. And back before it was on TV really good in these episodes of hillbilly hand fishing or whatever, it was non-existent down here. There wasn't that many people at all doing it. You never seen it. Now all the kids are off doing it because it's like a truth or dare thing, and let's see who's scared, and
or the television, that show that you're talking about. They see that on hillbilly hand fishing or something, and it glorifies it and that danger, scenario, and along with the fame that they're seeing it, they go out and they try it, and
that's correct. So now, up and down the river, all during spawn, you see all these kids, every little community that have individual boat launches around the houses and everything, and that's got riffraff and places like this. You don't see them off in the sticks and mud banks and all this, but they're around all them boat ramps, around all the houses in the little lake communities. Got their hands all up under all these boat ramps, pulling these fish out because they've seen it done on TV, and that's the only reason they're doing it.
Yeah, I heard about the hillbilly hand fishing. The first thought in my mind was a great. Now, you got a show that glorifies it. You're going to have a bunch of young guys and stuff that are going to go out there and they're going to do it only because they've seen it on TV. And the sad thing is there really is a lot of dangers to doing that. I mean, I'm sure there's people that's been killed. You put your hand down there, you grab a hold of a good 50, 60 pound flathead, he ain't letting go. And you might be in 8 foot of water, and he's going to hold you down there.
Correct. And we have noodling guide services up here in Gadsden and Leesburg. It's all over Craigslist. They've got flyers put out everywhere where you can pay them and they're going to take you out noodling. And these guys are in their lower 20s and they're doing it to make some money, and they're getting people going out with them and paying them to take them out because people want to experience these things. But that's what's going on down here. The people's trying to make money on this noodling stuff because they seen it on TV and seen they can make money on it.
Yeah, and that, like I'm saying, the show isn't going to tell you about the fact that they're pulling these fish off their nests and that they're harming the breed of fish that they're pulling out there. They're not going to give you any of that information. They're not going to tell you. You might stick your hand down there and there might be a big giant snapping turtle that's ready to take a few fingers off.
Right, and then they see their mentor, Jeremy Wade on River Monsters, in a noodling contest, and he wins, and he never said anything about it being bad or anything on the show at all either.
And that's a shame. I honestly do like Jeremy Wade, man. I watch a lot of River Monsters. I haven't seen an episode where he did the noodling, so it's unfortunate. It's one of those things where, maybe he doesn't even know the repercussions of what was going on there. I know that he came and he did a big catfish episode for River Monsters. I believe it might have been the Kansas City over there.
He did it with Steve Brown, wasn't it?
Yeah, over in the dam.
Yeah,
by the
that
dam
was
over
the
there.
same episode. They did bull sharks that show, and then they went and did. I think they did the hand fishing next. I think they were in Oklahoma or somewhere.
Yeah,
and then
you might be right there.
Then they did the blue cats. I think it was Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, over the dam.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you say that, it kind of does come back to me a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that was something that I know if I seen it, I instantly thought the same thing. Man, I really wish you wouldn't have done that,
Well, the one that gets me is the guys, is a man and woman that has a TV show where they hunt all the time, and for some reason their name eludes me. I used to watch them every week. The little gal's a little short, dark-haired gal, and they do a lot of hunting and stuff, and now every year they have a noodling TV show, and I actually sent them a message, a letter, email, about doing that and why it was wrong and why they should stop that. And they basically told me that, they don't care if it's detrimental to the fish. They don't care how much harm it does to the environment. They're worried about getting ratings and people watch that show.
Yeah.
So.
That boils down to money.
That's exactly right. It's greed.
Yep. If you don't have a passion for the animals or for the sport or whatever, then, it's about the money.
That's right.
And unfortunately, that little green stuff there, man, makes people do a lot of stuff that ain't right in the world.
That's exactly right.
All you can do is try to educate people, and
educate. That you just got to stay after it.
That's kind of why we're doing this episode today. We're not trying to cram anything down anybody's throats. We're not trying to be super judgmental or anything. We're trying to let people know, the education behind everything, the knowledge. So, hopefully people make the right decisions if they hear them and stuff. But Paul, you got anything else on the noodling?
No, all I know is I wouldn't put my damn arm down in there and get bit. Be my luck, I'd reach up in there and grab a big old snapping turtle. And,
yeah.
Nah, it ain't for me.
My thing is that when I was a kid, there was a guy that reached in one of them. I thought he had an old slick belly flathead, and he got a hold of a beaver, and that thing nearly killed him. It beat him from one end to the other. He had chunks of hide and skin missing off of him all over him, and they thought he was going to die for a while, but that beaver really worked him over. Probably worse than a turtle.
Yeah. And I know some of you guys out there, if you watch this, you might do it, or you might know somebody, that noodles, and like you say, it might have been something that your grandpa, grandpa done, you gone out, you might be related to Runny Doo Doo, you might not, I don't know,
I figure out what you're doing with that toilet brush.
Hey, I'm cleaning my hole, man.
Yeah, but you got to understand, back then they were really doing it to feed their families, and that was true survival.
It was survival. That's exactly right.
They wasn't going out, and picking them up and getting pictures and dancing around with them for a little while and letting them go. They were getting them, throwing them up in the canoe or throwing them on a rope, and they were going home and cleaning them.
These guys posting all this stuff too. If they're I'm feeding my family. Well, if you got to do that to feed your family, then you might want to consider giving up the internet.
Next
Well,
week on Catfish Weekly, Runny do bungee jump noodles.
Do
Paul, here's my theory on people complaining because they use catfish to eat. Number one, if you have to survive on eating catfish, then get off your lazy ass and go get you a job. Number one, that's the first thing. You got to have a job. It is a lot cheaper to go to the store and purchase food than it is to buy gas, a boat, a car, a tow vehicle, some type. Get your bait and go to the river and catch enough fish to eat off of. It is far cheaper just to go to the store and buy the product there. So if you need to feed your family, go to McDonald's, go to Lowe's, go to Walmart, get you a job, and trying to blame the fact that you need every fish in the river to support your family, because it is cheaper to get a job and buy food than it is to spend the money and go out and fish.
Yeah, and I was guilty of doing that when I first started posting long ago. But
And
of course, now I'm an internet fisherman, so I'm good.
I'd expand upon that, Lyle. You know, I myself do it. I'm sure there's a lot of guys do, and I think it's what you mean. You know, as far as somebody that goes out and catches fish at the river and they eat it, it's okay.
Absolutely.
But if they go out and every single fish they catch is a meal and they have to do it to feed their family, that's what he's talking about.
That's right. If they got to catch every meal out of that river so their family's got something to eat, then get a job.
Yeah.
I do keep all the bullheads, though. And because, number one, I don't worry about
Being a bullhead, them's good eating.
I don't see no problem with them either. Plus, they want them out of the lake, so.
But yeah, I mean.
And there is lakes. I hear these guys talking about, and I think something sticks in my mind about Santee Cooper. And I know Lake the Ozarks and Truman is another place that is so overpopulated with little fish, they are expanding the limits so you can keep more fish. Well, keep them little ones if you want to feed your family or you want to have a fish fry, but throw the big ones back. Because
wasn't there a lake tournament here not too long ago? They had to take all the fish with them.
I wouldn't surprise me. They can be overpopulated, but the overpopulation is always with small fish. It's never with breeding size fish. It's the small ones. Those are the ones you got to take out. They're by far the better eating fish. I don't care what anybody says. Any wildlife, any domesticated game, it doesn't matter what it is. They don't wait till they get old, decrepit to eat them. They eat them when they're young because it's better meat. It's just that way.
Miss Sinnewall River. If you like bullheads, I can tell you right now, man, I could go to the Miss Sinnewall River, catch 4-pound bullheads over there. I mean, giant bullheads. Yellow bellies. Big old yellow bellies, Miss Sinnewall River.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're good eating.
But before we go on to the most interesting subject of the night, Pay Lakes, we're going to go to Chuck for the giveaway. I think that he's got some scales to give away.
I've got these 50-pound Rapala scales. I've got 2 sets. We're going to randomly pick 2 people to give these away to. All you have to do is post a picture on Catfish Weekly fan page or the Catfish Weekly group, and we will randomly pick 2 people who post a pic holding catfish. You can have pictures of your children holding them, your wife, or whoever. Let's just see some catfish, and we're going to be giving these away to 2 lucky people.
That's the end of this month, right? So.
That's right, end of June.
End of June.
Didn't we have one for last month?
No, we're combined May and June into one contest.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I know that, and again, before we go on to the last subject of the night real quick, I talked about, I think it was the week before last, I wanted to do sort of like a member, like a Catfish Weekly member spotlight on a story, somebody that something posted. I don't think he got it posted on Catfish Weekly, but he's kind of the guy who came up with the idea for us to do that. So I want to give him a shout out, and I'm going to do a screen share. Let's see here. Do my screen share here. Doug and Kathy went out to the White River here in Muncie. Caught a nice 28-pound flathead. You can see it here. He went out fishing with his girlfriend, Kathy. And he wanted to thank her for being an awesome fishing partner. As you can see, Doug is a big guy. He's a real tall guy, real big guy. So when he holds a fish up and it looks like it's a pretty decent sized fish, that's because it is. You know, he holds a same fish up that I hold up, and I make it look like a giant. He makes it look tiny. So, you know, congratulations, Doug. White River. He said he caught it on a tiny little creek chub head. Said he had a couple gills out there with it. Creek chub head. That flathead couldn't resist, apparently. So again, congratulations, Doug. That's a nice fish. Hope you get more of them this year, buddy. And then that's it for this week's member spotlight. Remember, like I said, just post a picture of a fish with a little bit of story on it on Catfish Weekly. Say, you know, it's for a member spotlight. You know, email it to me. I think it's FUD at catfishweekly.com. You know, I'll try to get different people spotlighted, kids, adults, it don't really matter. You know, give a little bit of story about how the fish that you caught and whatnot, and we'll try to get it on here. But I believe we are ready for the pay lakes. I don't know if we got enough time.
Yeah, we got time. We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, well,
may have to carry over.
Right. We've done it once.
All right, Lyle, go ahead and start us off on the pay laking.
Pay lake fishing.
What's your favorite pay lake?
I don't have a favorite pay.
Do you make pay lake fishing poles?
I have actually turned some people down when they told me they wanted to do that. I know that's very unprofessional and very
14 foot?
Yeah, when they start talking 14, 16-foot rods, I'm thinking, what are you doing with them? You know, if they're telling me they're bank fishing, but when they start in on that, I need to sling this bait out in the middle of a pay lake, then I just, you know, and I know that's unprofessional. You're not supposed to discriminate against stuff like that. I do all the rods that I want to build, probably more than I really should. Anyhow, so if I know that's what they're going to be used for, I don't feel like a high percentage of those people having business with something I spend that hard a time, put that much work into to do. That's a personal preference of mine, has nothing to do with anybody else, and anything that I say on this show is just that. It's not my opinion. It is my opinion. It should not affect what the other three guys have to do with, unless they agree with it. That is totally up to them. But pay lake fishing is, unless they are raising their own fish to put in these lakes to charge people, is the lowest form of human life that there could possibly ever be. They take these big fish out of the water, public water, put them in a small pond, and don't feed them so people can catch them 2 or 3 times, and then they float to the top dead. They put them in a dumpster and they're hauled to the thing. They never get a chance to reproduce. They never get a chance to be harvested. The fun factor for numbers and numbers of people that may have an opportunity to land these fish is gone. And like we was talking a while ago, it's all about greed. Those people are making money off of public fish. Now, I do understand that when you catch that fish, it is yours to do with as you like. But there should be a stipulation as far as taking public fish out of a public waterway and charging people to catch them until they're dead. The other thing that really gripes my butt about commercial fishing lakes is the fact that they are coming from Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and no telling where else, to the Ohio River, to the Mississippi River, to the Missouri River. They are expanding out in every state. They are taking live game fish out of our waterways and transporting them across state lines. Now, if you take a bass, which should be considered bait in my book, it is not. It is a sport fish. It is not the number one sport fish. Catfish is. But if you take one of them across the state line alive and anybody catches you, you're going to get a ticket. If you take a deer across the state line alive and you get caught, you are probably going to jail immediately. There is no difference. Wildlife is wildlife, whether it swims, whether it runs. It's a eating, breathing, living piece of that state. If it comes from one state, there is no possible way it should be legal to transport it across state lines live. If you catch a fish in one state and you take it home to eat it and cut it up and put it on ice, that's fine. That's the way you do deer and turkey and any other piece of wildlife. You should do the same thing with fish. If you're carrying live catfish, 60, 70, 50, 80 pounds, it doesn't make any difference how big it is, and you cross that state line, you are going to try to make money on it. And you should not, if you're making money on it, you should have to have a commercial license. Even then, commercial fishermen should have to hold up to the same standards as deer hunters, turkey hunters, or any type of other wildlife harvesting group. And that fish should be dead and cut up and put in coolers before it's hauled across any state line. That's my theory.
Okay. Yeah, my general thinking of it is in a good scenario or whatever to compare it to is the bucks. Imagine, Kentucky being a great place, some other places that just produce real high quality, nice, 10, 12 point bucks, nice thick, Boone and Crockett size bucks and stuff. And we were to go Indiana, we were to go over to Kentucky, get our big traps, right when all the deer school together, pretty much get us a good truckload of deer, get about, 30 big, nice bucks from Kentucky, bring them over here to Indiana, create a bunch of 1 acre, high fenced, private hunting land that you got to charge people to come over and hunt these big old bucks that we took from Kentucky. Let them shoot that buck, be a Facebook hero for that giant buck that they shot in that 3 acre plot of land with their high caliber sniper rifle, most likely. And that's the same scenario. I mean, that's what these guys are doing. They're taking these fish, taking it to a very small pond. Either they're using chemicals to burn these fish's gills and make them want to eat. And then the Pay Lake fishermen are going to say that, it takes so much more skill to fish one of these tiny lakes than it does a river, and there's all kinds of debate you can get into, and the truth is common sense. And if you don't have that common sense when somebody tells it to you, I don't know that you're ever going to. You're going to just be one of them people that keeps making the excuses, to keep doing what you want to do. But no, deer don't school, by the way. Just in case you guys didn't know that, you heard it on Catfish Weekly. Deer don't school.
Well,
they might hurt.
Or you're against it, and you can't be both. I don't think. It's not a sport. I've seen people call it a sport, and shooting fish in a barrel isn't a sport.
No. Chuck, you got anything to say about this?
Yeah. The way I think of pay lakes, which we don't have any down here that I know of. We have just a lot of public lakes that have been stocked by the state. But I buy a fishing license, so any public lake in the state of Alabama is my pay lake. I pay to use those. Those are my resources. They're everyone's resources who buy a fishing license. Um, those fish should not be taken out of any lake to be profited by anyone. Is the you know the is my go at it. We had a lot of problems with it a while back, and we had some good old boys from up in Huntsville that they went at it, and they got some good laws passed, and good things come out of it. And they need to be recognized more for by doing this. But they actually got tired of seeing those tank trucks pulled up, um, toting loads of fish out of these boat ramps every week, heading toward Tennessee. So they stepped up and did something about it. But I hope the states that have these problems can, get them squared away, and the senators, the representatives, and the other people who need to be educated on this, get educated so these laws and regulations can be passed to save these fisheries.
And Chuck, really, you're onto something too that you may have thought about and might not have thought about. There's a lot of states like Ohio, West Virginia, some of these places where they have laws, good strict laws in place to protect catfish from commercial fishermen. Now, as these pay lake owners and these guys, some of the pay lake owners are commercial fishermen, and they go and get these fish themselves, so they don't have to pay as much money to stock their own lakes with them. So I'm talking, the guys who are commercial fishing for and targeting these big, large catfish, they have to avoid these lakes that are these bodies of water and stuff that are protecting these trophy catfish. So as they move down the river to the places where they're unprotected, they start to wipe these areas out. As they start to wipe these areas out, and they're not ever going to say, oh yeah, we're wiping this area out, because if they do that, they realize they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they're going to get them regulations passed to protect that species. They're going to say, oh, we're catching them like never before. They're always going to say that. But the truth of the matter is, they start moving. They move when they realize that they've pretty much wiped an area out. They move further downriver. They move further downriver. They move to different lakes. They go to a bunch of different places, and the more that they wipe out, the more they're going to move, and the more that the places that haven't ever seen these guys is going to start seeing these guys. They're going to travel farther, and they're going to get these fish and do what they have to do to make that money, because there is a big prize pool right now in the pay lake and big catfish industry, and they're all going for them. They're all paying a pretty hefty price for them, and I'm talking, Joe Blow that goes down to the river, catches a big 50-pound blue or flathead, take that fish right up to most pay lakes. That pay lake owner is going to give them a good amount of money. And
my understanding is, Chris, not to interrupt you, but from what I am being told by several people from your area and even further east, that these fish are bringing as much as $5 and $6 a pound from these pay lakes.
Per pound.
Per pound.
Yep.
And now you tell me that there's any sense of righteousness about that.
Absolutely not. And like you're saying, the good old boys, the guys that, they might not make a lot of money, or they just, they have plenty of time to go down there and catch fish. They go down there every single day because they live right there, and they can catch a fish or two a week or whatever. That makes an impact too. I mean, the commercial guys are bad, but the things that they're endorsing and the things that the practices they've got in place to help stock their lakes are just as bad as well. And Jonathan and a lot of people have hit another subject of as far as the enforcement. Once things get in place, the laws need to be stiff. The penalties for the laws need to be stiff, so that way, if there is enforcement, they got to be scared of that enforcement. It can't be a slap on the wrist. It can't be some piddly fine. Commercial fishermen, they have to be afraid, and then the enforcement has to be there.
That's
50
exactly right.
bucks an ounce.
And again, not to interrupt you, but that was one of the big deals that when the Conservation Department in Missouri was trying to get the restrictions, the slot limit, and the 2 over 34 on Lake of the Ozarks and Truman, and thank gosh we got it done. They wanted to know when everybody was at these places what it was going to take to make this work. And my main objective in making them understand the way I felt about it is unless you enforce the rule, it will do no good to have the rule. The second thing is the fine has to be so substantial that if you get caught once, you will never, ever do it again. Whether it's imprisonment, the fine is so astronomical that you can't borrow the money to pay it and you have to pay it the rest of your life. Whatever it is, it has to meet the crime. And therefore, if you get caught, the fine has to be so severe that you don't dare do it the second time.
Right. They need to take all your equipment.
Did we just lose Chuck?
One part of it.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead and repeat that, Chuck. I think we lost you.
Take all equipment that you have in your possession at that time, all fishing equipment, your boat, your truck, everything, and then fines on top of that, just like they do in hunting.
Well, and that's what they do in Colorado. If you get caught doing something illegal, first thing they do is take your vehicles, your guns, everything you own that you have with you on your person, and then they fine you and give you just enough money left over that you can call somebody to come and get you.
Right.
You know, that's the way it's got to be here. And I recall several years ago, a guy that I am very familiar with in Illinois was out on the river and got caught with a phone or a generator, whichever the case was, I don't remember now, and he had a boatload of fish when he come in, and they was waiting for him. They took his brand new boat and motor, they took his truck, which was brand new, they took the trailer, they took all the fish, released the fish, took everything they found, and then fined him $25,000. And now we're talking about 20 years ago, when $25,000 was a lot of money. And now that fine could, maybe it's still the same, I don't know, but it most likely is more. But that is the kind of enforcement of these laws that it's going to take to keep people from breaking them.
Yeah, we have recently, and I'm not going to say this happens at every pay lake or anything like that, but like, we have guys that own these pay lakes that are being actually busted for basically having their pay lake be a ring for drugs and illegal drugs, illegal gambling, things along that lines, and they're actually going to. What's that, Paul?
Theft of fishing equipment and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the places, these pay lakes, a lot of the times aren't, not only are they enforcing bad practices on taking the fish from other waters, they're not great places to be. The types of fishermen that are there, I'm not going to say that they're all bad, but I'm starting to believe that a lot of the guys, you don't ever want to talk to them, you don't want to talk down to them, you don't want to try to treat them like crap or anything like that. You want to educate them, but once they've got that education and they're just still failing to make a logical, common sense decision, and they're still, basically supporting and patronizing these pay lakes and doing the stuff that, as far as the illegal gambling, the things that go on there, you have to realize that might be the type of people that's there. There's nothing that, you can do to talk them into seeing the light of day on what we're trying to do here, what's going on. They're not ever going to see the logic behind it. They're never going to agree with what you're doing. They're never going to, be a regular guy that's going to go out and have a conservation on mind. They're again thinking of the money that they might win catching that tag fish, or let's see what everybody's laughing about. I need to read chat or something.
Yeah, you need to read Jonathan's post. I'm dying here.
We're 5 over an hour, just so you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically saying along with what I'm saying right now.
Exactly right.
the type of those people, there's nothing we're ever going to be able to do. They're going to call us names. They're going to do this, you know, hillbilly crap or whatever. And that's the type of thing that, like I said earlier, as bass fishermen, I'm sure they had similar situations in the beginning of their fight, and we have to refrain from that. We have to not be publicly debating in the battle and calling each other names and being, you know, runny doo doo. We don't want to go runny doo doo on them. That's the truth.
Inbred. I think there's a question put up on about that.
What's that?
If Runny Doo-Doo's inbred.
Is he inbred?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The origins of Runny Doo Doo are unknown.
Yeah, that's right.
Uncle Daddy told me not to talk about.
Uncle Daddy. Oh man.
So let's see. As far as my Pay Lake stuff goes, I do also want to take a mention that our fight, you know, a lot of what I'm talking about is those good old boys that they go down, they fish the river. There's a lot of times before, honestly, you never hear one of them guys talking catfish regulations. You know, them guys are the guys down there bank fishing. They might want to keep fish. They don't have a problem with the Pay Lakes and stuff like that. I'm starting to see a little bit of change in that. I was down at the river talking to one of the guys that fishes the boat ramp. You know, that guy that when you're going down to put your boat in, he's got 4 rods spread out across the bottom of the ramp. And so I get down there. He's pulling all the stuff out of the way. He starts talking to me about these dang Pay Lake commercial fishermen coming and taking these fish out of the river, and they're starting to actually get a little more involved and, you know, understand what's going on, and it's good to see that. So I hope that more people, you know, that are down there that see it, that didn't really care or know what was going on, are starting to care a little more. You know, don't go slashing these guys' tires. We don't want that kind of stuff happening. We don't want, you know, a big war to go, you know, happening, and then guys, you know, you go do something like that commercial fisherman hears there's a tournament going on somewhere, he goes down, has his buddy slash a bunch of tires, or, you know, put water in gas or whatever. I'm trying not to laugh because I am reading chat right now, but anyway, yeah, just keep spreading the word on the what's going on. You know, the education of it is what we have to get out there. Even the regular people who don't catfish, who don't have a fight, you know, they're not in this really with us, that they can see and use their own common sense that something ain't right here, and they can actually be a help for us later on, as long as we don't make ourselves look like, you know, hillbillies or anything like that they don't want to be any part of. You know, so that's the reason why, you know, image is a lot of what we need to keep up. And you know, like I do want to say something. There was somebody that I guess thought that Runny Doo Doo was, you know, about, I think it was a Bass Pro tournament. Somebody weighed in a fish with no shirt on. I don't agree with that. I think that's part of the image we need to watch out for. The guys running them big tournaments, you know, they need to have a lot of what's going on in mind as well, because they do have a battle on their hands as well, whether they know it or not, and they need to keep that image a little better than, you know, guys weighing in with fish with no shirts on the national scale. So I hope they see it. I hope they you know, they might make some changes and not allow that to go on ever again. And for the right, you know, for all the people that are fishing it, you might think about that a little bit yourself. And what did they say? Did the commercial fisherman put water in your boat tank? Fuck, I don't know. I mean, I didn't say that word.
Yes, you did.
Well, it's live.
Yeah. It's like, oops. Wait. I don't know. I do have a bunch of water in my gas right now, so working on getting that out of there. But have we not got to anybody? Chuck, you got Pay Lakes to go?
No, I done talked about Pay Lakes.
Paul?
I done said it.
All right, well,
I could go on forever, but we're running
yeah.
time on
We're
time.
running an hour 10 minutes right now, so like I said, we'll probably visit these subjects on on many other occasions. So, if you thought of something that we didn't cover tonight, just um, just send them in to us. We'll try to answer any questions on any subject you have. I mean, like I said, whatever. If you see the upcoming shows, we try to put everything there in advance on what we're going to talk about. So if you see a subject where you have questions, somebody made an account to log on our chat as Doo-Doo's Uncle Daddy. I didn't know Uncle Daddy had the interwebs.
All right then.
And I do want to apologize to Jason for sending him a text that was so funny that he fell into the Ohio River. I am sorry, Jason. I don't mean to be so funny. But also, good job, Adam Winder, on the Extreme Catfishing Tournament there. Got first place. It was a tough bite for a lot of people there, myself included. I ended up skunking at that tournament. Also had a other mishap that I won't discuss, but it wasn't a very good day for me. So again, congrats, Adam Winder.
You gotta tell everybody.
I gotta tell him.
Well, you opened it
I
up.
have to.
Just leave everybody hanging.
All right, I'll tell you all real quick. It's nothing to do with Lyle's rods. I actually love Lyle's rods to death. But for the third time, I have lost another Black Horse custom rod to the Ohio River. I had 8 ounces on and I slung it, and my Alpha Mar locked up on me, and it just yanked that thing right out of my hand right into the river. I grabbed another rod. I tried throwing a hook out there. I mean, I seen it. It was going pretty fast, but I was trying. I did everything I could to save that thing. And
that makes you into one of them interweb fishermen.
yeah,
It goes
go
to
ahead.
show it doesn't matter how much you fish or how little you fish. Things happen.
Things do happen.
On your control. It's just nobody's going to throw away a fishing rod of any caliber. But somebody that fishes a lot, sure enough, not going to do it. And things happen, and that's just the way it works. I've done the same thing a couple of times and know a lot of other people that do. And if your reel hangs up and you got a big piece of bait and a chunk of lead on there, and it spools or hits the end of a line or a knot in it or whatever causes it, the reel locks up, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, all Fudd's Pro Staff rods from now on will be equipped with a leash attached. Oh, man.
Ricky Bracken lost one when a rod holder broke, pulled it in the water. The rod, reel, everything was probably over $600. And he now tethers his, and that is no joke. That was the second time that had happened to him with a broken rod holder, and yeah, he didn't take too kindly to it. But things happen, That's just how it is.
Yeah, it definitely. That's all I can say on it. Yeah.
Well, you start something, you got to let them know,
Yeah.
And you'll catch some grief over it, but it's all good fun.
Yep.
It's all good fun.
I guess we go ahead and start our closing statements. Everybody ready for that?
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead and start us off, Lyle.
All right, first off, I want to talk to everybody about the Calvin Meyer benefit. We held that Saturday in Burlington, Iowa. We had a pretty good turnout. The water was high, and they didn't have the docks in, and some of the people that promised to send us stuff for the benefit tournament didn't follow through with that, which I was a little disappointed in that, but we had a good crowd. They had a wonderful fish fry at the fire station up there. Ryan Daniels put together an outstanding deal at the fire station, and once the tournament was over, we had a live auction on a lot of rods, a lot of fishing equipment, a lot of stuff that was donated by just unbelievable amounts of people to help Calvin and his family out with the cost of this terrible disease he has. It was a great time. Buddy Weisenberger and his son Ace won the tournament with a little over 27 pounds of channel cat and a big channel cat of 10 pounds. And for this area of the Mississippi River, that's an outstanding day. The deal with the Chicago Cubs rod, Ronald Workman won the rod. I'd done the bidding for him. He couldn't make it. That's a long trip for him. So now the damn thing's back at my house, but I'll see that it gets to its rightful owner the 14th of June. Thank you, Ronald, for putting in that bid. There were several people bidding on it. Ace Weisenberger took his winnings from the day and bought one of the Cardinals rods. I was very proud to find out that one of the rods brought around $750. And the other one, I'm thinking it was, when it was all said and done, because one of them was donated a couple times, bought and donated back, was like $500 for the total on the donation. So I was very pleased with that. They raised a lot of money for Calvin, which will help him and go a long ways. I know he's in the hospital getting chemo stuff going on right now. So everybody that participated in any way with this, thank you guys so much. It just shows that the catfishing family that we have nationwide steps up to take care of one of their own. With that being said, we have a Wounded Warriors tournament at Quincy, Illinois. Anybody that gets a chance to run up this weekend, we're taking guys out that may not have a chance to go out and take them fishing. It's not about the tournament thing. It's about taking out a Wounded Warrior and spending a day with one of the true heroes of our country. If you get a chance, come up. We'd be glad to see you. I know there'll be plenty of warriors there to take out. June 14th, we are having the Mark Twain Casino Twisted Cat Outdoors Jack and Jill tournament in LaGrange, Missouri. Entries are still coming in. We have a really good number of people on their way from several different states. This tournament is going to pay $3,000 first prize money. And as the entries go over 40 boats, it will increase all the way. So if you get a chance, get your entries in. There will be a $10 charge day of tournament over top of that. If you're entered previously to the tournament, it's $100. It'd be $10 if you don't pre-register. Keokuk, Iowa, July 12th. We are getting entries for this tournament. Last year we had, I believe it was 45 boats. It was either 45 or 47. Paid over $2,400 to the winner. It is also an added money tournament. We'd love to see everybody come out to Keokuk. There's some great channel cat up there, some outstanding blues. They got flatheads. They got it all. It's a beautiful place to fish. You can fish flats. You can fish below the dam, whatever you want to do. They got it all up there, and it's an outstanding place to go to have a good time. Bring your family and kids and come on up and go fish with us. That's it for me tonight.
All right, Chuck?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that the Alabama Catfish Trail will be having a tournament July 12th. It's a night tournament from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's going out of Birchfield Branch Park on Hoyt Lake of the Warrior River. This is a campground, so I know a few people already that's just going to bring tents, and that way after weigh-in we can just hit the tent and wake up and maybe enjoy the lake a little bit the next day. But it's going to be a good time, and I hope everybody in this part of the world can make it.
All right, Paul?
Well, I ain't got a lot, nothing fishing-wise anyway. We'll be out of commission for a little while on this liquid diet now until my surgery on the 5th, so got a bad case of the runny doo-doo. And as soon as we can close out, I can go running. That's about it, dude.
All right. Again, I'm going to go and let everybody know that even though each one of us individually have our own sponsors, The show itself is not sponsored by anybody. The views of each individual member shouldn't be taken as the views of everybody. We're all our individual people and all that, and we're trying to make the show about catfishing in general, trying to leave all the politics and everything out of it. We want everybody to enjoy the show. Trying to make this show for every kind of catfisherman there is, be it from a tournament angler to a guy that just wants to go out and catch some fish. So if you have any ideas or anything that you want to see on the show, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to try to get it on here. You got an idea for a guest or anything like that, or you want to be a guest, let us know. We'll see if we can't get it done. Also, again, remember for Chuck's giveaway of the two 50-pound scales, you just need to post a picture on the Catfish Weekly Facebook page. I believe besides that, the ICA has a tournament, the Flathead Bash. It's an open at Lake Lemon this next Saturday. I believe it's a night tournament from 7 to 7. 7 at night till 7 in the morning. It's a $60 entry fee. I think that's it as far as tournaments for a while. The next tournament after that will be Mississinawa Reservoir, but that's near the end of the month, so we'll talk about that as it gets a little closer. What's that?
Ad spots.
Oh, yeah, we have the ad spots still available. I know I did talk to Delaware Propeller, and they seem pretty interested in getting one, so we're going to have one more probably taken up. We've still got a few more left at $60 or $50 for 6 months, $30 for 3. If you're in the catfish industry and you sell something, it's a good place to put it. You got a real targeted audience here, so get a hold of me, bud at catfishweekly.com. I'll get you set up. If you don't have a ad banner to put there, we'll make you up something. Won't cost you anything. We'll put you something together and put it on there for you. Don't throw your rods in the river and stay out of my spot, guys.